The night shift badge still felt strange against Milo Keller's chest, as though the laminated plastic disapproved of being pinned to an old janitorial jacket instead of a white lab coat. 3 months earlier, Milo had been sweeping corridors in a burn hospital. Now he wandered the labyrinth beneath CERN, preserving shine on floors that hadn't yet earned names on any public map. He'd heard the stories. Country-flavored rumors swapping atomic facts for conspiracies about time machines, alien phone calls, or microscopic black holes. Yet each rumor wilted in the fluorescent light of daily drudgery. For Milo, the Large Hadron Collider was mostly a 31-kilometer loop of coffee cups, candy wrappers, and shoe scuffs left behind by people paid to dream very loudly. At 2:17 one unspectacular Wednesday, Milo's polishing machine rattled to a reluctant stop outside Service Alcove C43. A faint tremor, not unlike a train passing somewhere deep in the rock, rolled along the soles of his boots. He waited, listened, and finally slid the alcove door to check that none of the researchers had left volatile equipment humming. Instead of the usual stacks of sensors, he found a new steel aperture the size of a wardrobe dressed awkwardly in warning stickers. Some air deny, level V personnel only. Someone had scrawled across the sign in red marker. Myth mode test tonight. Do not touch the sequencer. Milo frowned. Myth mode, he muttered, as though the words might rearrange themselves into sense. A quiet chirp answered. From the machine's flank, a transparent polymer cable snaked down across the floor and slipped under a sealed maintenance hatch 1 he used every other shift to empty chemical waste. The cable pulsed with pearly light. He looked both ways, saw no one, and knelt to lift the hatch. Inside, instead of the expected drainage pipes, he stared at a second chamber, darker and humming as though it contained the throats of 100 hives. A crystalline shard floated mid-air, spinning, each facet reflecting shapes he couldn't identify. Feathered wings, bronzed scales, antlers twisting through clouds. When the shard completed a rotation, the visions disappeared. When it turned again, the impossible diorama returned. Milo's rational mind insisted the images were tricks of refraction, but the floor trembled a second time. Stronger, hungrier. He reached to shut the hatch and knock this discovery into the forgetting corner of his brain. Before his fingers closed, the shard flared white. A shockwave slapped his chest. The hatch splintered off its hinges. Milo tumbled backward, colliding with cleaning supplies. From the ruin rose a gust of alpine air laced with pine and something older. Wet meadow, lightning, teeth. The air coalesced into a door, tall, ancient, keening with the sound glaciers make when they surrender to the sun. It swung open. A griffin erupted, lion shoulders trembling beneath feathered armor, eagle beak snapping at invisible prey. The creature landed, talons carving sparks from concrete, and loosed a shriek that rattled rivets. Then, as though content the world still contained prey to conquer, it bounded down the corridor and vanished around a curve toward the freight elevators. Milo lay frozen, listening to claws ringing off metal ladder rungs until the clamor dwindled. Finally, he clawed upright and sprinted after the intruder. In the elevator bay, he nearly slammed into Dr. Elodie Sakamoto, Deputy Director of Particle Division, Theta. She wore wrinkled scrubs and held a tablet streaming error messages like waterfalls of red text. "Milo, you saw it, didn't you?" Her voice vibrated with a mixture of horror and scholarly awe. "Saw it. I let it out." The words escaped before he could temper them. Elodie stared. "Tell me everything." "No. On the way. We have 7 more containment protocols failing." She stabbed elevator buttons that required fingerprints and irises. Doors closed, locking them inside a metal cocoon, shuddering toward the surface. Milo explained in spurts. Hatch, shard, shockwave. Elodie's expression darkened each sentence. "At 2 o'clock, she said, we tried a new energy regime, mythic collision." She saw his confusion and elaborated. "Every culture tells stories of beings that break natural law. Our team isolated patterns in the quantum foam matching those myth icons' archetype resonances. We call them mythons. When you smash them, they decay into phenomena we can record. Legends leaving fingerprints. That shard you saw is a failsafe that condenses stray byproducts. Failsafe, Milo echoed, except it opened a door. Which means our failsafe just failed incredibly. She pinched the bridge of her nose. If archetype energy breached local space-time, we're effectively plugging fairy tale mains into the Swiss grid. Creatures aren't supposed to manifest physically. We only intended to glimpse their mathematical shadows. The elevator dinged at a staff-only garage near the surface. The overhead door gaped, and the world beyond glittered with calm starlight above vineyards rolling to Lake Geneva. The night should have been silent. Instead, distant screams corkscrewed through the valley. They commandeered a white maintenance van. Elodie uploaded field diagnostics to the windshield's HUD. Sensors painted icons across the map of local villages, thermal anomalies, pressure bubbles, gravity eddies, at least 3 clusters. Milo navigated winding roads while she briefed him like a general forced to admit the castle walls were made of paper. Each mython corresponds to traits: strength, hunger, cunning. The collider collision energy sets how loud they are. We must nullify them before dawn, or the resonance amplifies as humans observe them. Exactly. Belief feedback? Every eye, camera, tweet turns rumour into cosmic glue. First anomaly, Villars-sur-Voir, a hamlet of 40 cottages. They arrive to find chimneys smashed, chicken coops shredded, and feathers fluttering like snow. The griffin perched atop a fountain, drinking from the bowl and scattering marble shards. It noticed the van's headlights and hissed. Elodie yanked a suitcase from the rear. Inside, a gun-shaped instrument with polished copper coils. Ion destabilizer. It scrambles the Mython lattice. Should return it to theoretical dust. She squared her stance and advanced, telling Milo to circle, distract. Milo grabbed a fallen roof beam, whistled. The griffin lunged, meeting him halfway. Wood broke in his hands. He dove under talons, glowing with moonlit brass. Behind, Elodie fired. Mauve lightning crackled, fracturing the air. The beam struck the griffin's flank, carving a swirling pattern of pixels that dissolved into sparks. Yet the beast remained injured, enraged, corporeal. It battered Milo with a wing, launching him onto cobblestones littered by broken loots from a tourist shop. Not enough, Elodie muttered. Scale it up. I'd have to override safety interlocks. Could erase the village, too. Milo watched the griffin sniff embered timbers, searching for something new to maul. Maybe we don't erase it. Maybe we lure it back. To CERN? Through the portal that exploded? No. Outstory. He rose slowly. Legends say griffins guarded treasure. It escaped because its hoard vanished, right? What if we promise it better treasure elsewhere? Where? He pointed toward the Alps, silhouetted beyond terraced slopes. St. Pierre de Glace Monastery. Gold chalices, artifacts, everything a mythic guard might adore. It's remote. We can contain it there. Elodie considered, then nodded. They roused one conscious villager, commandeered a horse trailer, and stacked every shiny object they could find. Brass fixings, silver cutlery, tourist medals, until the griffin's eyes followed the clatter with greedy calculation. Milo rattled another pot, retreated into the trailer, and the griffin stalked after, squeezing through the reinforced barn door. Elodie slammed the gate. The beast flapped, rocking the chassis, but lust for treasure outweighed suspicion. They sped away faster than the trailer's shocks approved. Elodie monitored instruments. Containment holds. 2 more breaches registered. 1 by Lake Lemonshorn, 1 near Mai Vineyard. Milo swallowed. How many myths did you collide? We predicted 3 by dawn. Griffin is 1. The others? Choose your nightmare. Waterhorse, Wendigo, Chimera. Jutton depends on which archetypes our algorithms sampled mid-run. They left the Griffin at a decommissioned funicular station high above the Rhone Valley, sealing the rails with magnetic locks powered by the van's battery. Then they barreled toward Loam Hans Horn. A half-hour later, they parked among reeds silvered by moongloss. Waves slammed the stone quay with more violence than normal weather allowed. A black shape surged, trailing kelp-green luminescence. It crawled onto the dock. Equine face elongated into a crocodilian snout, hide dripping like oil skins. Something folklorists called a kelpie. It tore mooring lines, yanking boats into the lake, seeking riders to drown. Screams echoed from a camping ground where teenagers fled bonfires. "Can you zap this one?" Milo asked. "Water disperses the destabilizer beam." She powered up anyway. Sparks arced uselessly off drenched hide. Milo remembered a folk detail. Kelpies lured victims by offering an inviting back. Once you mounted, adhesive skin trapped you. "Sticky horse," he murmured. He seized a coil of fishing net, coated in tar. If it likes riders, give it one too heavy to carry. He sprinted to the dock's end while the kelpie mauled a dinghy. Milo shouted and slapped water with the net, taunting. The creature twisted, nostrils flaring, galloped over planks that splintered beneath unnatural weight. It lowered for him to climb. Milo hurled the net, snagging dorsal ridges. Instantly tar fused, gluing him sideways, though his feet remained ashore. The kelpie whipped to drag him in, but Milo hauled back, anchoring himself to a bollard. The monster met immovable infrastructure and screamed. Elodie raced forward, modified beam frequency and fired where net and hide merged. The interaction created a resonance long enough for mythic bonds to flicker. Foam exploded, water hissed. The kelpie's form pixelated, collapsed into a puddle smelling of peat and nightmares. Milo, drenched and trembling, pried tar off skin. "2 down," Elodie panted. "1 left. Anomaly cluster near Mae Vineyard." She checked her watch. 4:11. Observers waking soon. Sunrise in 78 minutes. Mae Vineyard sprawled across terrace steps overlooking small chalets. The air tasted of fermenting earth and, disturbingly, wood smoke, though no chimney burned. As they arrived, fog slithered between rows of dormant vines despite dry forecasts. That mist stood a silhouette, towering, antlered, cloaked in rags woven from dark. Eyes glowed embers. A Wendigo, Algonquin's spirit of insatiable hunger, born when humans resorted to cannibalism. Its presence chilled breath into frost. Worse, Wendigos grew as they fed. Belief in monster movies had already swollen this one, beyond ancient folklore. Milo felt heartbeats cower beneath ribs. How do we fight a story about endless hunger? Elodie's knuckles whitened on the destabilizer. Suppressing hunger energy risks ripping an entropy hole. Everything nearby could freeze into a heat death pocket. So we give it what it wants, Milo whispered. But Wendigos can't be sated. Unless, she said, they're starved of witnesses. They rely on terror. A story untold dies. They surveyed the valley. One farmhouse lamp flickered. No other people awake yet, he formulated. If we herd it into the Collider tunnel entrance at Sector 6, the thick shielding will block electromagnetic and psychic leakage. Without observers, my thin amplitude decays. That entrance is 6 kilometers, Milo noted. Close enough. We lure it with one high-calorie belief source, you and me. Before he could protest, she flicked Van Siren, blasted headlamps, and shouted through loudspeaker, "Hey, tall, dark and hungry, fresh fear on wheels!" The Wendigo roared, snapping vines as though twine. They reversed toward the road, creature bounded after, each step gouging asphalt. Milo drove while Elodie launched magnesium flares out the window to maintain its attention. The beast followed the fiery breadcrumbs, bellowing. Sweeping down switchbacks, they approached CERN perimeter gate. Security lights illuminated startled guards. Elodie grabbed the comm. "Open Sector 6, site emergency." She overrode further questions with director codes. Barrier raised, the van shot inside. The Wendigo crashed through, chain link following. Belief stamina outran physical obstacles. They barreled into the subterranean loading bay, where armored shutters waited like jaws. Milo braked. On cue, Elodie jumped to control panel and slammed shutters when the creature ducked beneath lintel. Metal slabs locked it inside thick concrete. No cameras, no glass, just darkness. Silence. Not even pounding. Wendigo presence evaporated as though smothered under a cosmic lack of audience. Elodie exhaled, sliding down wall. We might have bought ourselves minutes before the system logs queries. We still need to fix the leak. The pair hurried back to alcove C43. The corridor still reeked of ozone. Shattered hatch yawned. Inside, the shard floated calmly, facets dim. Elodie studied readings. Glitch occurred when field harmonics dipped and spiked. We can close the interstice if we invert phase, but we must also convince the Collider Control AI to dump myth collision permanently. You mean shut down your dream? Milo said gently. She met his eyes. Dream turned nightmare. Help me kill it. They accessed a console. She typed sequences circumventing locked heuristics. The Pegasus shuttered. 26 seconds. It said, something is first. The AI protested in clipped text, collision regime optimal for novel physics. Proceed? Elodie answered no. The machine persisted. Potential loss of unique data. She hesitated. Years of research begged continuation. Milo placed his janitor's keys beside the keyboard. Some things are already too real, he said. She pressed execute. Power conduits around the collider dimmed. The shard brightened, then imploded into motes that sank like snow melting before they touched anything. A cool stillness filled the alcove. No tremor followed. Sirens initiated overhead. System diagnostic. Unplanned shutdown. All departments report. Elodie straightened. I'll take responsibility. You should disappear, Milo. Janitors weren't supposed to be here. Janitors save the day and vanish? That's mythic. He smiled wearily. But I'll stay for cleanup. That's my job. They parted texts. Elodie to face committees, Milo to ensure no residue festered. He swept shards, repaired hatch foundations, erased scratch marks. A silent pact between broom and concrete. By 7:30, Alpine dawn gilded CERN's facades. Rescue teams searched for structural faults. They found none. Villars-Savoy villagers blamed a freak mountain lion. Campers near Lemon's Horn described a beached whale horse no one photographed. Mealy vineyard farmers chalked flattened vines to a rogue hail burst. Elodie stood before an oversight board, admitting unauthorized energy regimes, claiming all anomalies remained theoretical, contained to simulation. Record showed no creature footage. Sensors captured only noise later dismissed as cosmic rays. The board delivered reprimands, budgets slashed. Mythic collision archived under risk experiments never re-reapen. That evening, Elodie waited outside staff exit, holding a small gym bag. Milo emerged, smelling of disinfectant. I resigned, she said softly. Your key. He accepted the gym bag. Inside lay the dismantled ion destabilizer and a flash drive. Theory data, she explained. If I bury it, someone will just reinvent it. But if someone who understands cleaning up messes keeps it safe, maybe mythons stay stories. Milo considered the weight. Not heavy, yet heavier than Galaxy. Well, what do you got? I hear Greenland wants volunteers for Aurora studies. No colliders, just sky poetry. They exchanged a handshake turned hug. Two conspirators bound by secrets that could rewrite religions. Months later, in Saint-Pierre-de-Glace, monks reported unusually dutiful guardian behavior from local wildlife. Sometimes at dusk, wings dusted snow from cloister roofs, while treasure vaults gleamed untouched. At Lake Lammenshorn, fishermen whispered of a dark shape following boats. But nets never tore again. In a sealed bay of Sector 6, motion sensors continued reading absolute zero. A pocket of hunger sleeping because no one bothered to fear it anymore. And in Geneva, a janitor finished his shift, locking the flash drive in a mundane locker next to mop buckets. A reminder that the most powerful secrets sometimes need nothing more glamorous than someone who knows when to close the door and sweep the floor.